Hello.
Hello, Quick Tip Guy, and hello, viewer. This is Curious Monkey Gaming. I'm going to quickly show you 7 different spots you can build that all have very different characteristics. One of them is very close to Piastovia and has a mine right next to it, which is very convenient. One of them is probably the most beautiful place on the map, which has a waterfall and its own bridge and a mine. One of them is a reasonably interesting stone feature that you can build around, and the other one is a much more dramatic stone feature. And one of them is in the swamp, just for a change of pace. There's a very flat island, which is very convenient to build on, but maybe a little boring. For my taste, a little boring. And the last one is where I'm building in my Let's Play, which has a variety of flattish open land, rocky land, a little forest, its own lake, and its own mine. So let's get into it. If we run just a little bit outside of Piastovia, it's a nice little spot for a beginner. If you haven't played the game before and you're not sure what you're doing, it's certainly not a bad place to start. It's got everything you need. It's got lots of trees. It's got a cave with a mine. It's got lots of animals nearby. The only potential problem with it is in this cave is a random wolf spawn. It looks like this time they didn't spawn, which is nice. So you've got a cave here where you can mine copper and tin and salt, which is extremely useful. If you approach the cave and there are indeed wolves in it, I recommend maybe going back and starting a new game. Taking on 2 wolves for a new player can be pretty difficult. So we're now approaching the waterfall. You've got a lot of sloped but relatively simple flat-ish land down here. Over here you've got a random spawn, so this could be each season it changes out. It could be a camp with a little stuff in it that you can take. Building nearby will kill this spawn, however. So you've got a bit of a cliff over here to the east side. You've got a fair bit of land. As I said, relatively flat, certainly flat enough to build on easily. And then the nice feature is the waterfall. So you've got a small river here, which you can drink from. You cannot wash yourself in it because it's not quite deep enough. Strangely, you cannot wash yourself in a waterfall either. You can stand in it as long as you like and you will not be cleaned. The developers may change that in the future, but you have a waterfall, you have a bridge already built. This spot definitely takes the cake for pretty. And on the other side of the bridge, you have a little mine, so you can go inside there. There are no animal spawns here in the mine, and you can mine copper and tin and salt right there, which is super useful, especially early game, to have a cave like that with mineable metals in it. And you've got a nice big flat area over here. These trees in autumn are super gorgeous. It's a really nice spot. It's also got some very large, good-looking trees. I like to leave large trees like this when I find them because they are just so interesting to look at and beautiful in the autumn especially. It's a really, really nice spot. I've built here before. A lot of people build here. It's definitely a spot worth looking at. One of the spots I like, and this is the place I built my very first village on the Oxbow map, is up here. There's a stone formation in the middle of an intersection, which is kind of nice. It's a nice spot. It's got a lot of relatively flat land. There's a lot of trees around. It's not too far away from Piastovia. And building around this rock just gave the village a center point, a feature that made it a little more interesting. However, there is a much better rock, which is much closer to Piastovia. So let's go over there and have a look. One way to select a place to build is to look for features. I like sometimes to build in places that have some very, very noticeable feature, and this is definitely one of them. It's convenient because it's very close to Piastovia. It's just east of Piastovia, which you can see over there. And there's this huge rock. Now, apparently this huge rock is real. It's based on a stone formation in Poland. The game is developed in Poland. The developers are Polish. And this huge rock, I'm not going to try and pronounce it, but I'll link in the description below to the Wikipedia page about it. It's a pretty stunning formation, and building a city around it has always appealed to me. I haven't done that yet, but I recommend it possibly as a thing to do. So it's close to town, which is very convenient. It's close to water, which is nice. It's got all the resources nearby, and it's got this stunning looking rock. I spoke about not necessarily easy terrain, and the swamp qualifies as that. It's nice and flat, but you've got lots of water areas that you can't build on with little islands in between. I think that can be interesting. I've never built here, but I think it can be an interesting option. And if you look around, there's lots of land that you can't build on. If we look at the map, lots of the swamp is marked with red. So for example, over here, you could start your town and expand out this way, or you could build over here with some of the swampiness and expand out this way, but you can't build inside this red box. It does give you an interesting landscape to build in. Not necessarily a very cheerful landscape, but I think it can be certainly interesting as a place to build. So if we come over to the islands here, the islands are probably the easiest terrain in the whole map. They've got water all around, they've got lots of trees, they are extremely flat, and as I said, that to me equals kind of boring, but it can be a nice place to start, just because they're not very far from Piastovia. They are convenient in many ways. The landscape's easy. The only thing you have to watch out for over here is there are a couple of wolf spawns and Vezant spawns nearby, and those can be both very dangerous to you at the beginning of the game. So you might not want to build over here until you're comfortable clearing those out, or just avoiding them. If you come to the north end of this island and then come down this way and don't go too far, you can build without worrying about them, at least for a little while. The next spot is not hard to find. It's west of Piastovia. And when you come over here, you'll find this huge rock, and just take the road west behind it and through this small canyon. This is where I'm building in my Let's Play video. If you wanted to build in a similar spot to me, this is where it is. And it opens up onto a really nice mix of landscapes. So you can see that there are trees off there in the distance. You can see that there's some open, flat-ish land over here. And if you go up this way, it goes to a lake. And if you continue this way, it goes to a mine, both of which are really nice to have nearby. So up here into the forest, just to the right of the road, when the rocks start popping up, you'll know you're at the mine. So over here is a mine. Now the only difficulty here, down there is a bear. And we don't want to mess with bears, especially at the beginning of the game. They will mess you up without any problem. You can put down a piece of road or really any kind of building, and that will clear the spawn in the next season. That is what I did because I just didn't want to mess with the bears. You can see that there's actually 2 of them. Through here, there are bunches of trees. They're not the best trees for resources, but there are lots of trees, lots of berry bushes, lots of everything, and it's an interesting landscape. My first tip is to explore a lot. When you start a game, you can set your seasons to 1 day in the options here. And if you do that, you'll get to see a lot of places in a lot of different seasons and see how they look. And that can be very, very enlightening. You can build a little simple campfire. All you need are 16 sticks, and you can sleep next to it, and that will put you into the next season. And in 4 days, you can have seen all of the seasons in different places. My second quick tip would be to not necessarily take the easiest landscape you can find at first. I've built in very flat landscapes with lots of space and always ended up being a little bored with my village. The most interesting villages I've built have been in more challenging places, in the middle of a forest without cutting down the trees, or in a more hilly and mountainous area. It forces you to make more organic decisions and not just build in a big grid. And to me, for my particular taste, that ends up being much, much more interesting. So I hope this has helped you find the perfect place to build your village. Let me know down in the comments where you end up building. And if you liked this and learned something, give it a thumbs up. Give it a thumbs down if you didn't like it. And don't forget to subscribe to keep up with upcoming quick tips. Enjoy your medieval dynasty.